Evan had always believed that humans possessed one quality no other species in the galaxy could match: absolute, unshakable audacity. Standing in the grand crystalline hall of the Zenthari diplomatic vessel, with Susan nervously tugging at his sleeve, he was about to prove that theory correct. "Evan, please," Susan whispered urgently, her eyes darting around the assembled alien dignitaries. "We're supposed to be observing protocol. This is the most important first contact humanity has ever—" "Relax, Sue." Evan straightened his jacket, flashing his most charming smile. "I've got this." The Zenthari were magnificent beings, tall, elegant, with skin that shimmered like liquid mercury under the ship's bioluminescent lighting. Their diplomatic reception had been carefully orchestrated. Earth's ambassadors would present credentials, exchange pleasantries through translation matrices, and perhaps secure a trade agreement. Simple, professional, boring. Evan had other plans. She stood near the viewing port, separated from the main delegation. Her form was similar to the other Zenthari, but something about the way she carried herself, the subtle tilt of her head, the graceful movements, drew Evan like a magnet. The iridescent patterns on her skin seemed to dance with deeper colors, purples and golds swirling beneath the surface. Susan grabbed his arm harder. "Evan Marcus Chen, don't you dare." But he was already walking across the polished floor, his footsteps echoing in the cavernous space. Several Zenthari turned to watch, their large, luminous eyes widening in what might have been surprise or alarm. The human security detail stiffened. Evan stopped directly in front of the woman, close enough that he could see the tiny constellation-like markings that dotted her neck and shoulders. Up close, she was even more breathtaking. Her features were angular, yet soft, alien yet somehow familiar in their symmetry. "Hi there," Evan said, his voice carrying that easy confidence that had gotten him both into and out of countless situations. "I'm Evan, and I have to say, you're the sexiest alien woman in the galaxy." The hall fell silent. Every translation matrix stopped humming. Every conversation ceased. Even the soft ambient sounds of the ship seemed to hold their breath. The Zenthari woman's eyes, brilliant gold with vertical pupils, locked onto Evan's. When she spoke, her voice resonated with layers of harmonic overtones that the translation matrix struggled to process. "Do you know who I am?" she asked. Evan's smile never wavered. "Someone who probably doesn't hear honest compliments often enough?" Behind him, Susan made a sound somewhere between a gasp and a groan. The human ambassador, Director Williams, looked like he was contemplating whether to tackle Evan or simply die of diplomatic embarrassment on the spot. The Zenthari woman tilted her head, studying Evan with an intensity that would have made most beings look away. But humans, as the galaxy was beginning to learn, didn't look away easily. "I am Schlara," she said slowly, her metallic voice carrying a note of something: amusement, curiosity. "Crown Queen of the Zenthari Collective, Sovereign of 17 star systems, Commander of the Grand Fleet." Voice of the Council. The silence that followed was deafening. Susan buried her face in her hands. Director Williams actually swayed slightly. The Zenthari guards reached for their ceremonial weapons, not threateningly, but with clear readiness. Evan blinked once, twice. Then he grinned wider. "Well," he said, not missing a beat, "that explains the confidence. Queens always have great posture." He extended his hand in the traditional human greeting. "Pleased to meet you, Your Majesty. Still the sexiest woman in the galaxy, though. The crown just makes it official." For 3 heartbeats, nothing happened. Then Schlara did something no one in the hall expected. She laughed. It started as a low harmonic rumble that built into a sound like crystal bells chiming, beautiful and completely genuine. Her skin patterns swirled with bright, warm colors, the Zenthari equivalent of a delighted expression. "You are either remarkably brave or remarkably foolish," Schlara said, her eyes glinting with unmistakable amusement. "I have not decided which." "Can't it be both?" Evan replied. "I'm human. We specialize in being brave idiots. It's practically our species' motto." Shlara's laughter continued, and gradually, the tension in the room began to dissolve. Other Zenthari began displaying warmer color patterns. Even the guards relaxed their stance. "Tell me, Evan of Earth," Shlara said, taking a step closer. "Do your people always approach royalty with such directness?" "Only the interesting royalty," Evan said. "The boring ones get formal bows and memorized speeches. You seemed too fascinating for that." Susan finally lowered her hands from her face, watching in disbelief as the queen of the Zenthari collective and her idiot colleague engaged in what appeared to be flirting. "Your species intrigues me," Shlara said thoughtfully. "We have encountered many races, but none quite so bold, so willing to risk offense for a moment of genuine connection." She glanced at the assembled dignitaries, both human and Zenthari. "Perhaps that is what the galaxy needs more of. Less protocol, more honesty." She turned back to Evan, her patterns shifting to deep blues and purples, colors of respect and interest in Zenthari culture. "Walk with me, brave fool," she commanded. "Tell me about humanity, and I will tell you about the stars you have yet to see." As Evan fell into step beside the queen, leaving a stunned diplomatic corps in their wake, Susan turned to Director Williams. "Sir, what just happened?" Williams shook his head slowly, a reluctant smile forming. "Something impossible. Something very human." He watched Evan and Shlara disappear through a shimmering doorway, already deep in conversation. "And, I think, something that might just change everything." Later, when historians analyzed Earth's first contact with the Zenthari collective, the event that opened humanity to the greater galactic community, they would debate endlessly about protocols, translations, and diplomatic strategies. But those who were there knew the truth. Sometimes the most human thing to do was to walk up to a queen and tell her she was beautiful. Sometimes audacity, spoken with sincerity, opened more doors than 1,000 carefully worded treaties. And sometimes, the sexiest alien woman in the galaxy turned out to be royalty. But that just made the story better.